How's it going, everyone? And welcome to episode number 4 of the Baseball Podcast with your host, Ryan Pepiot. Let's get to it. We are going to start with my MLB score predictions preview for today. And we've got 4 games on the docket for you that I will be giving you a score prediction for. The first one is the Cardinals and Tigers. And they are playing a doubleheader today. In game 1 of the doubleheader, I think the Tigers win. And I think the Tigers win 4-1 behind a big game from Riley Green. I think Riley Green goes 2 for 3 with 2 home runs and a stolen base. And in game 2 of the doubleheader, I think the Cardinals take game 2 of the doubleheader 3-2. So they split the doubleheader and they split the doubleheader and they go into tomorrow's game with whoever wins tomorrow's game taking the series. Then you've got the Rockies and the Marlins. And ladies and gentlemen, there is a major league debut in this game. It is Jordan Beck, top prospect for the Rockies. And I think the Rockies are going to win in Jordan Beck's major league debut 10-3. The Marlins are one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball, in my opinion. Now, in the comments, please feel free to indulge me on who you think the worst team in the Major League Baseball is this year. And the last game is the Cincinnati. Oh no, we got the Pittsburgh Pirates. The second to last game is the Pirates and the Athletics. I think the Pirates win this game 5-1. Behind a huge day at the plate from O'Neill Cruz and Henry Davis. And then the last one is the Cincinnati Reds and the San Diego Padres. I think the Reds are going to win this game 6-3. And now let's get to some struggling pitchers. And here's what I'm going to say on the first guy, Chris Martin. He's a reliever. His ERA is at 5.56. Now, if you saw me do this yesterday, I didn't talk about any relief pitchers, but I think Chris Martin could bring his ERA down significantly if he does 2 things. If he pinpoints where he wants to throw the ball and he throws consistent strikes and doesn't walk people. And 2, when you're asked to come in an inning, don't be scared to throw your off-speed pitches a lot. Number 2, Guardian starting pitcher Logan T. Allen. 5.46 ERA. The crazy thing about this is he's only walked, I looked at he struck out 26 and walked 11. So you would think with that, he's got a lower ERA. No, he's given up 19 earned runs. That's why his ERA is so high. The way I think he can bring down that ERA is by 2 things. 1, consistent strike throwing. Consistently throw strikes. Consistency matters as a pitcher. Consistent. If you can consistently throw strikes and be accurate and on time with your pitch maneuvering, I think you will be fine and you can turn around this high ERA you have. And then you have Athletic starting pitcher Alex Wood, 6.59 ERA. Now, with Wood, here's my issue, is he plays at a pitcher-friendly park of Oakland. Oakland's a huge park, and I think he can knock that ERA down to under 6 by consistently throwing strikes and not walking hitters. Those are the two keys to an Alex Wood turnaround. And now slumping hitters. I talked about one of these guys yesterday. That would be Rays Randy Arozarena. He is now batting 148 on this season, which is 2 points down from where he was the other day. A few points down from where he was the other day at 154. He was batting a $154 yesterday, the other day when I did this. And now he's down to batting 148. I'm going to say what I said yesterday again. And hopefully the Rays are watching this video. Rays, I appreciate you taking a couple days off to try to recharge and refuel his batteries, but he needs to be in a lineup. That's the only way he's going to break out of the slump he's in. And the other way he breaks out of it is if he don't, the three things I'm going to say for Arozarena to break out of the slump he's in. 1, don't chase outside the zone. Don't chase pitches outside the zone. If you do that, if you don't chase, you'll draw a lot of walks. Your on-base percentage will go up. 2, when you get to 2 strikes, shorten your swing and start fouling off pitches and battling. And 3, when you do get on base, don't be afraid to take off within the first 2 pitches of the next at bat for whoever at the plate. And I think if you do that, you will break out of this slump if you are in. Number 2 is Cubs first baseman Matt Mervis. Now, this kid is a rookie. So usually I say give rookies time, and that's what I'm going to say with Mervis. I think they're putting a little too much pressure on him right now. And I'm going to talk about a pair of his teammates later on in a little bit in the fantasy baseball portion of the show. Little teaser. But with Mervis, I think he needs to. The one thing I'm going to say about Mervis before I move on to Mitch Garver is I think Mervis needs to simplify his swing. Once he gets to 2 strikes, take a page from Harold Ramirez, a former Cub. Shorten your swing and start battling. Battle. Foul off 1, 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 pitches. And then once you get your pitch, then you take advantage of it and you end up getting on base. Maybe a walk, maybe a hit by pitch, maybe a single, maybe a double, maybe a triple, maybe if you're lucky, a home run. And then the last one is Mitch Garver of the Mariners. He is their primary designated hitter. He is batting 150 on the season. 150. And he's in the middle of that order. So that means he gets a lot of RBI chances. I know we're only a month into the season. I'm going to say this with Mitch Garver, like I said about Arozarena and Mervis. Simplify your swing. Once you get to 2 strikes, shorten up and foul off as many pitches as you can until you get the pitch you like. And then you can then hit that pitch wherever you want. But that's what I have to say about that. Before we get to the fantasy baseball portion, I'm going to share my screen with you. And we're going to go to my YouTube channel. the Sports Talk Podcast. So, first, I'm going to show you the merch store. Here it is. So, here's the merch. This is all of the merch. All the merch. I know it's expensive, but this is the new merch. I know you don't see the updated logo should be on there. I don't know why it's not. I'm going to work on it after the show, but that's the merch. Now, here's the membership part. You just click on join, and here's your 3 options for the merch. For the memberships. The first one is the Sports Talk Pod Minions. You get a loyalty badge, of course. You get member shout-outs, priority reply comments. The Roughnecks, which is $4.99 a month. You get a virtual video collaboration, a chance to be a guest on either this podcast or the college football podcast, or my normal podcast, the Sports Talk Podcast, where I talk about everything else in the world of sports. Or the one I recommend getting is the Sports Talk Pod MVP package. You get members-only live streams. You get first dibs on my upset picks every week before everybody else does. Before everyone else gets them. Before they go out to the public. You also, with this, you get first dibs, chance to get first dibs on CFB upset picks and bets and updated win total. So that's the merch and the membership portion of the show. Now we get over to the fantasy baseball Monday player of the night. And it is Rays pitcher Ryan Pepiot, who went 6 innings, gave up 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 7 strikeouts. And if you saw by the thumbnail, I'm pretty sure this is a breakout happening for Ryan Pepiot. This back-to-back starts of at least 6 innings for Pepiot, in either giving up 2 runs or 0. He did have a couple clunkers in between, but he's on a stretch of good starts right now that I think you need to take advantage of, and you'll see why I say that in a second in the waiver wire. And here we go, speaking of the waiver wire. I went back to the old way of doing it, where you have pitchers, the pitchers get one portion, and the hitters get the other portion. So we start with the pitchers. We start with the first one is Dodgers starting pitcher Landon Knack, 1.5% roster. And he starts tonight against the Diamondbacks. Now, if you want to add him, I would say add him, but I don't know if I would start him necessarily against the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are a high-powered offense, and I'd be a little cautious starting him against the Diamondbacks. Number 2, Rays starting pitcher Ryan Pepiot. I just talked about him. He's in the thumbnail. 58.9% roster. I think he needs to be rostered in more than 80% of fantasy baseball leagues. If you need pitching, if you've lost Strider, Justin Steele, Brian Bayo, Steele, Bayo, Strider, or any other starting pitcher, I think you need to add Ryan Pepiot. Tigers, Reese Olson is next, 4.5% roster. Reese Olson, over his last 3 starts, He's given up a combined 4 runs. That's it. No, 3. No, yeah, 4. He's given up a combined 4 earned runs over his last 3 starts. He gave up 2 in 1, and in the other 2, he's given up 1 earned run in no starts. And the last waiver wire pitcher I'm going to talk about is Bryce Elder. 18.1% roster. I think Elder is another guy that needs to be rostered in more fantasy baseball leagues. He's going to stick around the rest of the year, and I think he can help you get wins. He's not really a strikeouts guy if you need innings, whip, ERA. He'll get you that. I don't think, like I said, I don't think he'll get you many strikeouts. But if you get points for innings pitched, whip, and quality starts, he will be able to get you that. Prospects to stash. There's 3 on here, and I'm going to talk about them right now. The first one is Nationals prospect outfielder James Wood. Now, the Nationals have had 2 different outfielders. 2 different guys go on the injured list. One being Joey Gallo, and one being Lane Thomas a couple weeks ago. And both times, they skipped over calling up James Wood, which I don't understand why they did that. It doesn't really make sense to me in a way, but at the same time, I think that they're going to call him up soon enough. And when they do, I recommend, if you have a roster spot open right now, I would stash any of these 3 players. Number 2 is Spencer Jones of the Yankees. I saw his minor league stats, him and James Wood's minor league stats the other day. Absurd. It's absurd how good they're doing in the minors and the fact that they're in AAA and not the big leagues. Yeah, with Spencer Jones, I mean, I can understand a little bit why he's still in AAA because the Yankees are stacked in the outfield. Stanton, Judge, Soto, Grisham. There's nowhere for Spencer Jones to play in the outfield. I mean, you could have called him up. Oh, and Verdugo. You could have called him up instead of calling up a catcher with Verdugo going on the injured list because Spencer Jones is also a first baseman. And then you've got Rays prospect, Cameron Meisner, outfielder. I'm going to say he's probably a little bit lower down on the pecking order for prospects in the Rays system to get called up. It does say 2024 ETA, so I would expect him to get the promotion at some point this year. Waiver wire part 2. Hitters under 80% roster. First one, and I mentioned him yesterday in the podcast. It is Joe Adell of the Angels. 2.8% rostered. And I think he needs to be rostered more. He's figuring things out. He's only struck out, like I said, on the podcast episode yesterday. And if you didn't see that, go back and watch it. He only has struck out 21% of the time. And I think if he cuts that in half even more, that he will be a very valuable fantasy asset going forward. Number 2 is I talked about his team a few minutes ago in MLB Preview. It is Jordan Beck of the Rockies. 2.4% roster. Outfield. If you need outfield help, I would highly recommend adding Jordan Beck to your roster. Next is another prospect that's getting promoted today, Joey Loperfido from the Astros. 5.6% roster. He's an outfield and a first baseman. It sounds like they want to get his bat in the lineup right off rip. So, if you need outfield or first base help, I would add Joey Loperfido, but stash him on your bench as well, just in case he doesn't get playing time right off the start. And then the last guys I'm going to talk about is, like I said, is a trio of Cubs outfielders. Mike Tauchman, Pete Crow Armstrong, and Alexander Canario. All less than 10% roster in fantasy baseball leagues. And it seems like they're all getting a lot of playing time. Armstrong has started off hot since getting called up, promoted from AAA, hitting over 400. I would say here's the order I would add these guys in. So Adele's number 1, 2 is the Cubs outfielders, 3 Jordan Beck, and 4 is Joey Loperfido. So again, that is Adele, Cubs outfielders, so Tauchman, Crow Armstrong, and Canario, Jordan Beck, and Joey Loperfido. And the Dropometer is last. And I've got 3 guys on the Dropometer. Number 1 is Nicholas Castellanos, and of the Phillies outfielder. I don't get why he's being dropped in so many leagues. For me, he's a 4 out of 10. He's a veteran. We're only a month into the season. I would say hold on to him and see what happens. If he continues to struggle, then I would say drop him. Gavin Stone is next. He's a 3 out of 10 for me. Dodgers starting pitcher Gavin Stone. I saw some positives in his most recent start for the Dodgers. He did have 2 walks. He also had 2 strikeouts. He did have a low swinging strike rate, but I think he can fix that and turn it around. And I think the Dodgers are going to figure out what to do with him because they're about to get Walker Buehler back soon and Bobby Miller. And the last one is Nationals outfielder Eddie Rosario. Now, I think once James Wood gets called up, unfortunately, Eddie Rosario is going to be the unlucky customer in that outfit. But until he is called up, I think Eddie Rosario for me is a 2 out of 10 on the Dropometer. Unless you can find somebody else that's a hot commodity on the waiver wire like Jordan Beck, Pete Crow Armstrong, Alexander Canario, Mike Tauchman, Joey Loperfido, Ryan Pepiot, any of those guys, then fine. Go ahead and drop Eddie Rosario. And ladies and gentlemen, just a little update. The video I was supposed to give you last night, I'm going to do it for you tonight. Tune in at 11 p.m. on the Sports Talk Podcast playlist. That is where that video will be. And I'm going to give you a little teaser. September 5th through the 9th, I am going somewhere, and I will explain it more on the CFB Podcast episode, why I started taking college football trips later this week. But if you've enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up and remember to subscribe. And that will do it for today's episode of the Baseball Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you tonight at 11 o'clock. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Peace.